Hello and welcome to Local Anaesthetic Podcast, your weekly injection of mind-numbing local news. My name is Alex, and joining us for episode 318 now is Rob on the 9th of July, Rob, a Thursday evening, well, right after work, really.
Yeah, it's a bit of a contrast to a Sunday morning, but we are here nevertheless to deliver your well, you've already said that, your weekly injection of mind-numbing local news, but I just wanted to reiterate.
That might be the first time you've said that, Rob.
Yeah, it felt very strange, Alex. That's not something I'm accustomed to.
Yeah. Well, it sounded like you've been practicing, to be honest. It sounds to me, Rob, like a coup is underway.
I mean, I don't know what you're talking about, Alex. I mean, the very suggestion I have someone lined up in the wings waiting to take your place is just fantasy.
Right. Well, Rob, is there any news before we get on to the news?
Well, it seems that there's been a lot of discussion in the forum, and there's a few things that I wanted to draw people's attention to.
This is the forum that's on our Facebook page, facebook.com/LA podcast, the listener forum.
That's right. So, first of all, Ben, who is a very new member of the forum.
Do we know where Ben's from? It's not the Ben that we used to have send us stuff, Ben from Halifax or whatever. Nothing to do with that.
No, it's different Ben. I believe he's also from the Nottingham area. I don't know whether he is. Yeah, he's probably told me, Alex, and I can't remember. I have a feeling it might be Mansfield, but I don't think that's right. I apologise, Ben. You probably have told me, and as always, I've forgotten. But anyway, so he basically just wanted, well, there's a few things from him. There's also one thing from Kyber which relates to him. So let's just start with this. So Kyber asks, has there been any kind of speculation over what Ben Smith's chosen profession is? And if not, why not?
You're right. Just for any new listeners, I like to guess the professions, if they have them, of our listeners. Well, I don't know much about Ben. I need a bit more. Have I got any information whatsoever?
He's possibly from the Nottingham area.
What stories did he submit?
Well, he's actually submitted a story today, which I'll be featuring.
Okay.
He is also, which I'll come on to, he's managed to find John Mooner's Instagram page.
Wow. John Mooner is somebody we've featured on this podcast many times who has an obsession with all things aliens and UFOs, but is really quite unhinged. Rob, okay, so I'm really going to have to use my sort of clairvoyant abilities here to their maximum level with Ben. I've got coming very strongly through that Ben is a plumber, or at one point in his life was a plumber.
Interesting. Well, Ben obviously let us know. Kyber does go on to say, I hope that Alex hasn't lost his uncanny powers of intuition.
We'll find out.
I can only assume that is sarcasm.
I would say no, they are in fact elevated through this period of lockdown. They've become more finely honed, Rob.
Ben, please let us know, and so we can put Alex out of his misery.
Well, the other thing is I predicted this pandemic. I think if you go back to something like episode 27 of the podcast, there's a very detailed prediction of it there from myself, as I recall.
I mean, for any listeners who are familiar with episode 27 or around that area,
check it out. Check it out. Bullshit. I want somebody to prove me wrong.
Now, talking of past episodes, Ben commented...
You have to play the episode backwards, though, Rob.
Yes, but you also worship Satan, Alex, and I don't think we want to expand on that too much.
That's how I found out about the pandemic.
Right, okay. Well, makes sense. Ben just wanted to say that he's obviously been going back through our back catalogue, and he says, my personal favourite episode is episode LA 130, so 130.
Does he say what that one's about?
Well, it's traumatic T-Tower fire terror. And it included the New Cross sex cinema.
Oh my God, what a story that was. Do you remember? So somewhere in New Cross just opened this CD cinema, which was basically showing pornos. I remember that, and those guys were going day and night, but I can't remember much else about the story. Oh, that's fantastic, Ben.
And I think that was, I think I'm right in saying, if I'm remembering from the comments, because I haven't got the Facebook page in front of me, but I think Jim Palmer actually paid it a visit. Actually, he popped down there himself.
Oh, that was it, Jim Palmer, the news shopper journalist?
Yes, that's right.
Yeah. Oh, I'd forgotten about Jim Palmer, who we always used to speculate wore Hawaiian shirts and drove a beat-up old sports car.
That's right.
Oh, God, I missed those days, Rob, where that was really when local news, wasn't it, was on the up.
It really was, and it's obviously faced a very sad decline since then. as I mentioned before, if anyone does want to check out the John Mooner's Instagram page, I don't know how Ben has managed to find it. It is worth checking out. I mean, you can probably, it's as you expect. It's basically a load
Are there pictures of John Mooner on the page?
I'm just scrolling down.
What are the pictures of? Are there pictures of sort of random cloud formations with him suggesting it's an alien invasion, like shadows in a park with him saying this is an alien watching him? Is it that kind of stuff?
Alex, it's just a load of grainy pictures of various objects in the sky that he's identified as UFOs.
Rob, wasn't it John Mooner that time who had that very strange walk in a park and said he came across a midget alien?
Yes, it was, yeah. I've got about that.
Yeah.
So I would encourage people to look up John Mooner. It's hashtag John Mooner. He has 23 posts.
Wasn't he also the guy, Rob, who had the battery-powered camera, which unfortunately, right when he needed it, ran out of battery?
Oh my God, yes. What a great story that was. Yes, it was.
Oh, God, too many episodes, too much good stuff to mention. Right, Rob, I've just got two things I just want to tell you about my week. One is that I have an osteopath, which I sometimes visit, a female osteopath.
Really? Okay.
Who I've seen over a number of years. Yeah, because I've had sort of back problems occasionally and things like that. Anyway, I hadn't seen her in about 8 months, but I got an injury running and it wasn't going away, and I decided I would make an appointment and go and see her. And she has opened from July the 1st, and she's all COVID secure and everything like that, and she's doing everything she can to make sure she's following guidelines and everything else. So I turn up there yesterday, and and it was a really good appointment, but it just made me laugh because when I was telling somebody about it afterwards, I said, no, it was completely safe. She was covered head to toe in plastic, wearing latex gloves, and we were both wearing masks. And I've realised that could have been a description of something else, really, couldn't it, Rob?
Yeah. Just so you're definitely sure she's qualified.
Look, mate, the extras come in handy. Rob, the other thing I wanted to tell you about is something which I have been, which is, whenever it's come into my head over the last couple of days, has caused me to laugh incessantly.
Right.
And it's a very small exchange. It's one sentence from a UPS driver, Rob, that will live with me long in the memory and has probably made this whole pandemic worth it. So yesterday morning, a UPS driver rings on my door with a delivery. He obviously stands outside. Now, as you might know about UPS drivers, Rob, different to all the other drivers is that UPS have that very specific uniform that they make the drivers wear, don't they?
Yeah.
It's the brown short sleeve shirt, quite short shorts with the UPS badge on a crest on the chest, isn't it?
That's right. Yeah.
I always think it makes them look a bit like sort of overgrown sort of schoolboys. Yep,
I think that's a fair assessment.
So now I opened the door, and this man was not your typical delivery driver. He just didn't fit the typical profile. He looked a bit like a man-child, which was sort of exacerbated by this sort of uniform he was wearing. He was quite cheery, but he was not the kind of man who should be working in accounts somewhere. Do you know that kind of guy?
Right, yeah.
He just didn't fit at all. I can't work out how he got into this job as a UPS driver. But anyway, he had something for me, and I was meant to return something, and I said, let me run upstairs and get and grab it. And I felt bad because he was waiting around, and so I was trying to hurry it up. And I came down, and then I had to put it in this box and put gaffer tape over it, and he's just standing there sort of waiting for me. And I just thought, let me make small talk. And I just said to him, so how are you? And he just went, yeah, because he was one of those people who, when he spoke, everything's like, yes, yeah. Anyway, he said, yes, good, living the dream. And I mean, I laughed out loud, and every time I've thought of that exchange, Rob, I have been laughing, because what I loved about the way he said that to me was, it was the perfect mix, Rob, of what I describe as genial sarcasm mixed with desperation. Living the dream. How the fuck do you think I am?
Yeah. There's something, that response is very British, because like you said, I think that's the perfect description. There's a hint of sarcasm. There's obviously, it's masking some
desperation.
Desperation. Yeah. And
it was the laugh beforehand. It was the, yes, I'm okay, living the dream. He was a bit like Mr. Britas, but a sadder version.
Yeah, so again, and so there's obviously an element of despair in there as well. Yeah,
I absolutely loved that. Absolutely loved that. He was basically telling me his life trajectory had not gone in the way that he envisaged. Which is true for many of us. Right, Rob, let's get on with the podcast. Episode 318. First off, Rob, I need to offer you a terrifying glimpse of the future. And I will give you the... I need to give you the headline because I need you to see the picture, okay?
Okay.
It's from the Mirror. Our obligatory weekly story from the Mirror, since the death of local news journalism. I have to say, hearing about Jim Palmer, Rob, has really inspired me. I'm really going to pay much more attention to the news shopper again and hope that we get a rebirth of some of those great stories and great journalists, because they really had a family there, didn't they? They had Andy Parks as the dad, Jim Palmer as a sort of reckless delinquent son, Patrick Grafton Green getting out there doing the job. There were loads of them, Rob. We knew them all.
We did. Then they were like family to us, Alex, and I think especially with the new shopper, they are due a renaissance, in my opinion.
Absolutely. Right, this is the headline. It's from the 6th of July. Headline: Terrifying model shows what working from home could do to you in just 25 years. I'm really happy you haven't seen this.
No.
So, Rob, researchers have developed a model called Susan to show what working from home could do to you in just 25 years, Rob. Would you like to be working from home for 25 years?
No. 3 months is too long. When you said model, I imagined that it was a supermodel working at home, and for some reason she's aged badly in a period of 25 years.
This is a CGI mock-up, Rob.
Oh, I see.
So
right, okay.
I'm going to give you... Okay, I'm going to wait to give you the headline because I don't want you to see the picture yet. With the UK now in its 15th week of lockdown, many Brits have become pretty accustomed to working from home. But, Rob, a shocking new model has revealed the worrying effects that working from home could be having on your body, Rob. Directly Apply has developed a model called Susan to show what working from home could do to you in just 25 years. A spokesperson from Directly Apply said, with lockdown having forced people across the globe into what has been the world's largest remote working experiment, our usual interpretation of the perk of working from home has been transformed forever. Whilst your bed-to-desk commute may allow for more free time and independence, will the physical repercussions to your mind and body be worth it in the future? From reduced social interaction, Rob, and lack of proper exercise, to hunched shoulders and digital eye strain, Susan outlines the many physical implications of what spending hours glued to your laptop can unknowingly be doing to your physical and mental well-being. Right, Rob, before I describe Susan, I think you need to see her. There are 2 pictures. So if you could put into Google...
Mm-hmm.
The following phrase, terrifying model shows what working from home could do to you in just 25 years, and bring up the Mirror article.
Okay, it's just opening now.
So remember, Rob, this is a woman. Now you need to scroll down as well. God. Scroll down and see the side profile and describe for the listener.
Okay,
Rob looks dumbfounded.
Alex, do they tell you what parameters they've used to calculate?
Describe for the listener. Describe Susan, the very attractive Susan.
I don't quite understand it because someone's just gone mad on Microsoft Paint. So Susan is a man. Oh no, must be a woman. I'm generally not sure.
Susan's meant to be a woman.
Okay,
yeah.
With significant double chins, a really thinning scalp. Really thick, heavy eyebrows, bloodshot eyes.
Bloodshot eyes, yes. Polo shirt and pink pajama bottoms with hearts on them.
Alex, this isn't a serious article. There's no way this is a serious article.
It is. This is done by a company. This is their mock-up of what it could do to us. But Rob, do you know who that reminds me of?
Go on.
Robert Maxwell.
It does. It does look like Robert Maxwell. You're absolutely right.
God rest his soul.
Before his death.
His corrupt soul.
Alex, I'm going to have to look up. I want to know who directly...
Oh, come scroll down again. There's another picture, Rob. Scroll down again. Can you see the front-on picture?
Alex.
Those pyjama bottoms are much too small, aren't they?
Did you Google who Directly Apply are?
No.
They're recruitment consultants.
Yes.
They are
nothing
not
better to do.
Yeah, that's who conducted
Rob, they're crack scientists. What are you talking about? They're crack scientists, Rob.
No, they're not.
Well, let's move on from that. Can I encourage any listeners to go and look at that horrendous picture?
That's extraordinary. Yeah, you should do that.
Okay, Rob. Oh, God, I love this story. I love all my stories, I think, this week. Okay, first one, just a very small update, Rob. It's a very small, dinky story, shall we put it, from Kawartha, which is a source of breaking news, which seems to be Canadian-based. So, a place that you have a lot of affection for, Rob, I understand. Home of the Moose, home of the Mountie.
I was actually there this time last year.
All right.
And now I'm stuck here talking to you. How times have changed.
Canadian Tyre in Lindsay temporarily closed after every item scanned comes up as Mr. Potato Head.
So, Canadian what?
It's a tyre shop.
Oh, I see, right. Okay.
Yeah, so basically, customers at the Canadian Tyre store in Lindsay were left empty-handed this morning because every item that's scanned in their store is coming up as Mr. Potato Head and could not be changed. Customers were forced to leave empty-handed. That, Rob, is a classic short local anaesthetic news story. And by the way, that glitch affected 5 of their stores, according to head office. Every item, Mr. Potato Head. Somebody's left there is having a jape, aren't they, Rob?
Absolutely. That doesn't sound like a glitch. That sounds intentional.
Okay, shall I tell you else that's something intentional, Rob? We've featured this paper before. I'm sure we have. Sora News 24, Rob. Japan-based. It's not the Tokyo Reporter.
Then I don't care.
Rob, what a brilliant story. If only we lived in Japan right now. From July the 7th, June the 27th, 2020. Tokyo gubernatorial candidate strips naked in televised campaign speech. And I'm afraid, Rob, the headline does not do this justice.
Okay.
Teruki Goto is one of the more mysterious candidates in the current race for Tokyo governor. So this is like, I think, the equivalent of a mayor there, right?
Yeah, it sounds like it, yeah.
A perennial candidate in various local elections for the past 9 years. Can I just say, Rob, a perennial candidate in various local elections for the past 9 years. I love as an episode title.
It's very good.
So he's been around for a while. He has consistently, Rob, pushed the limits that campaign regulators set. For example, during a mayoral run in 2015, Goto designed a poster that somehow managed to both meet the stringent layout rules and feature a picture of him fully nude and brandishing a samurai sword. I have the picture here. It is extraordinary.
Can I just ask, though, you say he's obviously a perennial candidate. I'm guessing he's never actually won.
I don't believe so. An interesting feature of politics in Japan is that public broadcaster NHK is required to allot all registered candidates airtime to present their platform to the people. These candidates are allowed to say whatever they want, even if it's directly disparaging the TV station they're appearing on. Which I like, Rob. I like that kind of freedom.
That's amazing. Yeah, I love that.
So what would happen if the man in the poster above, who appears to have more recently joined the Transhumanist Party, was allowed to run wild for 6 minutes on national TV? It would go something like this, and there is a video that viewers do look it up and do watch it. So without going in and untangling all of the stream of consciousness that made up Goto's speech, the first things that jump out are his nudity, him wearing an adult diaper with a big poop stain on it, a t-shirt that reads penicism on it, and his frequent use of words referring to genitalia. This is all by design and allude back to another notable appearance on national TV while running for governor in 2016. In this speech, Goto also referred to genitals and feces, but had these words censored out. In total, he was muted by the national TV channel, Rob, 21 times, but he then, I'm looking at a picture of it, simulated oral sex and appeared to have been too fast for them to deal with on live TV. So he's poking a pretend phallus into his mouth and sticking his tongue in his cheek.
So, but you said that he was muted 21 times, so does that mean they occasionally just unmuted him because they thought his behaviour had normalised to some degree?
Well, afterwards he sued NHK, the television channel, Rob. Immediately afterwards he sued them for violating the election law, which states that a candidate's political views must be aired without tampering. He won the suit, but it appears they were... this was the previous appearance, but it appears they were affected by the whole ordeal and refrained from altering his message at all this time round. Oh, I see. So this time they didn't censor anything.
Right.
Anyway, believe it or not, if you follow him carefully enough, there does appear to be a method to Goto's madness. For example, with regards to his stance on public nudity, he says babies aren't really brought by the stalk, it's an act of nature, and kids getting exposed to men and women's genitals for the first time by porno is really unhealthy, isn't it? I don't think kids are taught about it properly. I don't understand why we can't talk about genitals openly. Anyway, you get the story. Well, what amazes me is that this man is more coherent and likeable than Donald Trump.
Oh God, you're right.
Yeah. Okay, Rob, in an unforgivably short story lacking in detail, this really, Rob, captured my attention. It is from the local news website in the US called Click Orlando, which unsurprisingly, Rob, covers the Orlando area, which is in Florida, Rob. The headline... Oh, God, I love this. I love stories like this, which just evoke the imagination, Rob. Report. Florida man trapped on property with hundreds of parrots. Bird sanctuary has no path out.
Right.
So, Rob.
I'm slightly confused by the headline, but okay.
Tampa, Florida. With a legal battle underway, a Florida man has had no choice but to spend every day and every night at his bird sanctuary with only a couple of hundred parrots to keep him company. It's quite a lot, Rob, isn't it?
I mean, first of all, obviously parrots are quite intelligent creatures, but also they make a hell of a lot of noise. I think that would drive you insane quite quickly.
Well, the other thing, Rob, is, I mean, look, we have to mention this. You know I'm going to mention it. He can't satisfy his natural urges with the parrots because parrots, Rob, talk.
It's a true story, Alex. Yeah.
Can you imagine visiting that bird sanctuary after the lockdown is over and you've got 200 parrots squawking all kinds of obscenities, Rob? I don't know if you want to hazard a guess.
Do you know what? I'm not going to get into it, Alex, because I think it's too horrific to think about.
Yeah. Anyway, the Tampa Bay Times reports that Majid, in quotes, Magic Esmaili, so that's his nickname, Rob, Magic, from Zaxey, Florida Bird Sanctuary, recently contacted the newspaper about his predicament. So this guy, Rob, is holed in to the bird sanctuary, trapped with hundreds of parrots, and all he can do is contact this local news page to ask for help.
I'm slightly confused. So why is he trapped here? Sorry.
Well, we'll get there. He's in a 5-acre sanctuary that's surrounded on all sides by other people's property, leaving him with no way to get in or out.
Surely that couldn't have always been the case.
Yeah, according to the report, he used to have an agreement with the neighbour that allowed him and others visiting the sanctuary, including volunteers who help care for the birds, to use a path through her property that led to a public road.
What?
What kind of arrangement was this? I know. But the neighbour told the newspaper she was over him acting like a, in quotes, madman and scaring customers away from her horseback riding ranch. Rob, this has got Tiger King, the sequel, written all over it. I mean, yeah, somebody needs to cover this.
Do you think the parrots kept speaking out?
I think so.
Yeah, she'd open her door one day and there's a parrot on her doorstep. He's done it again! And so on.
He done it again. Oh, Rob, I enjoyed that, mate. So because of this, Rob, she put 2 locked gates up and decided to take him to court. While a judge initially ruled in her favour, the case is currently in appeal, and a stay has been granted to require her to open the gate and allow him to use the path. That should happen in a few days, but in the meantime, he says he's been struggling to feed himself and his 200 parrots, and described in an email to the Times himself as a prisoner in his own property. It says to read the full story, go to tampabay.com. And I believe, I've got a picture of him, Rob. He's a character. He's wearing a T-shirt with a parrot on it. He's holding a parrot. We need to know more. So he sent an email to the Tampa Bay Times with the subject line, SOS. He says, my name is Majid Esmaili, aka Magic, and I'm a prisoner in my own property with over 200 parrots. No way to get in or get out. So you know the story about why he's trapped, Rob. So basically, they're African greys, conures, lovebirds spread between one large aviary and about 50 individual enclosures. Before the coronavirus and the court order, he had dozens of volunteers to help. He says, I get up before the sun, and all day I'm cleaning, fixing cages, feeding parrots until night. At night I answer a few emails from people who want me to take their parrots, but I can't take any parrots now. I'm only one person. Some volunteers were allowed to bring him food early on after the court order, but they haven't been back. So they abandoned him, and he's now struggling to feed himself and the birds. So how have they been getting by, Rob? By eating the bananas and bamboo shoots he grows all over the property. Man, there must be a lot of shit around, Rob, because if you're just living on bananas, you are going to be regular as hell.
See, I'm concerned that the parrots are eating the bananas and he's eating the parrots.
Rob, he has only a few bags of rice, and he sleeps in a small office. Rob, I'm sorry, I want a documentary about this.
Yeah.
Without visitors, he has been cut off from all help and donations. He's concerned that even though the path to his sanctuary will still be open to vehicles again, the people won't come back. He may have to close. And then what do you do, Rob, with 200 parrots?
I mean, Alex, we talked about this before. I mean, there must be a way to get them to fight.
Invite people along to that.
You do pay-per-view, you stream it. I guarantee there's an audience for it.
So, Rob, his volunteers are either seniors or college students who now don't want to go out due to the coronavirus, so they've abandoned him, right? He is working the case pro bono with Bay Area Legal Services, a firm that offers assistance to low-income Tampa Bay residents. He gave a tour of the sanctuary over a video app this week. As he spoke to the white, scarlet and mango orange-coloured parrots, they called back. They barked, they meowed, they imitated the ringing of telephones. One said, "Want a beer? Want a beer?" Mostly it was just an unending cacophony of shrieks and screeches. Rob, there's the episode title. An unending cacophony of shrieks and screeches. Oh my God, yes.
But Alex, can you not imagine that? Trying to sleep in that environment and just hearing that for 24 hours a day?
Well, he claims it's like living near the airport.
Okay, fair enough.
Because you're constantly disrupted, aren't you, by the sound of airplanes?
Just the constant background noise. Yeah, that makes sense.
Some of the birds were abused or injured or attacked someone. Mostly they're people's pets who they no longer wanted. Some of the birds, oh my God, I did not know this. Some of the birds he's got can live 80 years.
Yeah, parrots live a long time. Yeah.
This one, he said on video, he already bit 51 people. He said, feeding a banana to a huge cockatoo. Not a euphemism, but he never bites me.
It's good to know. He never bites his cock or two. Sorry, that's a really bad joke.
The nickname Magic comes from his uncanny ability to safely handle aggressive birds. That's why he's called Magic, Rob.
Okay, good to know.
The neighbour says, I operate a horseback riding ranch and children's camp, and he jumps out of the woods looking like a madman because he lives back there and he makes the children cry.
Brilliant.
After years of abuse from him, I said I've had enough. He needs to use his own egress and ingress. I'm over it with him. She spent $100,000 in court fighting with him over the property.
But I feel this is actually quite unreasonable, because if he has no way in and out of his property, what is he expected to do?
As you said, Rob, he's got 200 parrots. He can live plenty of time on that.
Fair enough.
He ends by saying, Rob, he has no money. I don't have children. I've put everything I have into these parrots. Again, I hope that's not a euphemism. Anyway, there is a GoFundMe campaign titled Support Magic at Zaxi Bird Sanctuary to raise money for food and legal expenses. His lawyer services are free. I assume that's the lawyer from The Simpsons, but he needs transcripts from his previous case for his appeal, and the documents will cost thousands of dollars. Donations to the sanctuary, non-profit, are made through Zaxi.com. And in the appeal, he plans to argue, so this is the lawyer, plans to argue that he has the right to use his neighbour's property based on a Florida statute that says that owners of landlocked property can legally travel to the nearest practical route over a neighbour's property to get to a road. And that is a very sensible statute, because if you're landlocked, you need a way out. There must be a way out. Can't they helicopter him out?
Yeah, just imagine.
But then what happens to the parrots, Rob? Hang on! For fuck's sake, is this man insane? This man is in a bird sanctuary, right? He's not in an animal sanctuary. He's surrounded by 1,000 pandas. He's got birds, Rob. Surely, if he staples enough of them to his clothes and his body, they will be able to take flight, Rob, and take him with them and lift him away to safety.
Yeah, I mean, he could do that.
What an image.
Absolutely. It's very, it's quite enduring before he inevitably falls to his death.
Okay, Rob, you got some stories for us, my friend.
Yeah, two stories that neither are particularly long, but I enjoy both of them nevertheless.
Sorry, Rob, I'm perturbed because for the first time ever since doing this podcast, as you're reading the story, you're not looking the way you normally look. You've got two screens, so you look like you're reading off an auto cue. Obviously, this show is not scripted.
Oh, by the way, we're about £10,000 in debt. Just want to throw that in there.
Who are?
We are, because the purchase the auto cue.
What? Rob, we don't have... We have a very small amount in donations. You did not talk to me about buying a fucking auto cue.
Alex,
and what are you using an auto cue for? If I'm not scripted, how are you going to be scripted? You don't know what I'm going to say.
Oh yeah, that comes on to my second point. We've also got a team of writers now. I meant to, and also it's coming up to the time when we need to pay them. So just be prepared for that as well. But anyway, back to the story. So this is from Fox News. Doesn't specify which one, just a generic Fox News site. It's by Frank Miles from the 23rd of June.
When we started this podcast, Rob, covering local news stories and local papers, did you ever envisage you would ever read a story from Fox News?
No, that's a good point.
What's happened to us, Rob?
Alex, we're just going further afield. We're trying to broaden our horizons and obviously get those foreign listeners in.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah.
So, headline. Durian odour forces German post office to evacuate, report says.
What odour?
A durian.
What's a durian?
Well, good question, Alex. So the nasty odour of the durian fruit coming from a package at the Bavarian post office left 6 workers hospitalised and caused 60 workers to be evacuated, according to reports.
Can a smell injure you that way?
You've obviously never smelt the durian fruit. Now, I've had the pleasure of smelling it because they're hugely popular in Thailand because they're native to Southeast Asia. But I'll go into that in a bit more detail. But can you imagine? It left 6 workers hospitalised and 60 workers had to be evacuated.
I mean, let's hope that these fruits don't get into the wrong hands, because that could make a potent sort of weapon, couldn't it, really, if you were a wannabe sort of terrorist?
Well, I'll go into more detail, but these fruits are highly prized in certain parts of the world.
Mm.
So 12 postal workers received treatment for nausea, the German broadcaster Bayerischer Rundfunk. Bayerischer Rundfunk reported. Cops and
firefighters. Say it's a good name for our list, Rob, that is.
Yeah, actually it is, isn't it? He says like a...
For our names list, our comedy names list.
He strikes me as like an East German like bad guy.
I think he's David Hasselhoff's nephew.
Very true. I don't know why. I can really imagine him like in an 80s film, possibly in like a dodgy knockoff of Rocky.
Yeah.
Bayerischer Rundfunk. Fighting his way to justice. Anyway, cops and firefighters were dispatched to Schweinfurt in Germany on Saturday because the package was suspected to contain a dangerous gas or harmful substance. The fruit smell has caused numerous evacuations globally, described as the king of fruit.
Not those kind of evacuations, Rob, just to be clear.
We don't know that, Alex. It doesn't say that.
Right, okay. It doesn't cause you to soil yourself.
Again, we don't know. It's a possibility. Described as the king of fruits across Southeast Asia, the spiky fruit has a smell that's been compared to rotting meat, sewage, and dead rats.
Well, that's what Pamela Anderson said. I'm reading the fucking script for next week. The fucking writers have fucking mixed up the scripts.
I'll have a word with them, Alex. I mean, like I said...
No, hang on a minute. We're paying them and this... Look. None of these... What's this about, Pamela fucking Anderson? I've just realised, Rob, we now need to feature a story about Pamela Anderson next week.
For fuck's sake.
Otherwise this doesn't make any sense. Anyway, sorry, Rob.
It is so smelly that one of the most prized variants, the Malaysian Mustang King Durian, has never been successfully imported to the UK until this decade.
Wow.
The name of the spiky fruit comes from the Malay word for thorn, which is duri, but the texture is often sweet and the flavour is... the texture is soft and the flavour is sweet. The smell comes from the high levels of sulfate in the fruit. So,
Rob, does it smell of eggs? Because I wouldn't want to eat anything that smells of eggs, no matter how nice it tastes. Apart from an egg, sorry.
Good point. So when I was in Thailand, I actually had a durian ice cream, which had durian fruit essence. It's like a sorbet kind of thing. And it was one of those where I took the first bite and it's like, actually, this is repulsive. Then after a while, it's like, actually, this is okay. And then it went back to, no, this is just repulsive. It's a really...
And did it smell of egg?
Yeah, it does. Even the ice cream smells of egg.
Fuck,
but if you actually,
why did you even try?
Because I was curious.
I admire you for trying it, Rob. Yeah.
And the thing is, they are very, very highly prized. So what we saw when we were there is that you can buy dried durian sweets, and the Chinese go mad for them. You'll see them buying swathes of these sweets because it's considered delicacy in China.
So how come, Rob? I guess I'm a bit surprised that you splashed out on this expensive sort of delicacy in ice cream form. I thought you would have just gone for the the walls sort of, or just a Mr. Whippy.
Alex, the durian fruit ice cream was the equivalent of about 50p.
Why is it so cheap if these fruits are considered a delicacy? Maybe it wasn't even real jury fruit. Or
they're considered a delicacy, but they're not particularly expensive. It's only because they only grow in Thailand and
I see.
The country is relevant to it. So so in the US, you can find the Thai durian in many Asian supermarkets, and the fruit is used from everything from sweets to ice cream, as well as main dishes. Luckily, the durian is a very seasonal fruit, so if you're turned off by the smell, you'll encounter it only at certain times of the year. So
is this one that came into the post office rotten or something?
It doesn't actually say. I think it just might have been ripe, and it literally, the smell was so overwhelming. It just took down. I imagine it was like a stink bomb. Yeah, I mean, if you can imagine anything that smells like rotting meat, sewage, and dead rats, it's not going to end well, is it? No. Good episode title, Rob. Yeah, good point. So my next story is from the Miami Herald. Oh. It is from the 7th of July. I can't actually see a journalist listed. But headline: Man loses arm wrestling match with son, pulls gun.
Well, Rob, you don't want to be shown up like that by your son.
Absolutely.
This isn't competitive dad from the Far Show, is it? Who I would have happily watched a whole show about.
Oh yeah, absolutely. It was such a brilliant creation because it was just a man who was, no one's ever seen it. It was just a man that's he's just unbelievably competitive, and obviously he's very petty when he loses. And for me, the best one is when they go to the park and he's playing cricket with his two sons, and he's just smacking it out into the woods and just doing endless runs and making it, because these kids are young as well. Yeah, and the wife's just sat there, and they're using a tennis ball, so yeah, he could really get some power behind it. And I think at one point you see the sons just sitting down with the mum as he continues to do runs between the two stunts. It's brilliant. I really encourage you to watch it. Anyway, so an arm wrestling contest between a father and a son turns violent and led to an 8-hour standoff with Kentucky. 8-hour standoff? With Kentucky deputies, authorities said. Curtis Zimmerman, 55, was charged Monday with wanton endangerment, news outlets reported. Deputies were sent to Zimmerman's house around 1 a.m. on Monday. Bourne County Sheriff's Office Lieutenant Philip Ridgell, yeah, said Zimmerman was intoxicated when he challenged his son to an arm wrestling competition. When Zimmerman lost multiple times, he became agitated and got into a physical fight with his son. So let's just recap, Rob. This was already an evening of drinking that had gone on late into the night, right? Yeah. And as more drink flowed, somehow, somewhere, I can imagine they got involved in a bit of an argument or something, and they said, "Well, let's settle this with an arm wrestle." And he lost, and he said, "Right, I'll get you this time." And then he loses again. I think this probably happened 5 or 6 times, and with each time, the humiliation, Rob, heaped ever more upon him. So we're now a man at breaking point. So at this point, Zimmerman grabbed his gun and fired 2 shots into the ceiling whilst his son was going upstairs. What? Well, that's fucking dangerous then. That means he was trying to shoot him then. If he was shooting up at the ceiling knowing that the son was going upstairs, he was trying to get him. I don't think he was deliberately firing at his son. I think he was, he just wanted to vent his frustration. No, I think he was firing at him. I think, was it a shotgun? It doesn't say, unfortunately. Shame. Luckily, no one was injured. Police did not identify the son or give his age. Now, it cast... That's worrying. The son was like 8. The son was 8. That's exactly the age I was thinking. Beat his dad in 5 arm wrestles and then went upstairs for
to play on his console.
Yeah. When authorities arrived, 2 family members were outside, but Zimmerman refused to leave the home, leading to an 8-hour standoff. Zimmerman surrendered around 8:30 a.m. So if you just imagine, the incident happened at 1 a.m, and he didn't leave the house until 8:30 a.m. the following morning.
And Rob, you've seen enough TV stuff to know, like real life TV stuff, to know that these standoffs are always about 6 police cars.
Yeah.
The sirens won't be on anymore, but they'll still be flashing silently. And about 20 cops all behind the cars with guns drawn, pointing at the house. That's what it would have been off. It would have been an armed standoff.
Yeah, absolutely. And I like the fact that obviously 2 family members, maybe the mum and the son, already left the house and it was just him there and he was refusing to leave. He was still licking his wounds.
This is the modern day upgrade of competitive dad. That's what this is.
Pretty much, yeah. I do enjoy that the last line of the story just says, it's unclear whether Zimmerman had an attorney who would comment on his behalf. So I like the idea that Zimmerman may be representing himself in court.
Yeah, so this is a job for Lionel Hutz, surely.
Absolutely.
Right, Rob, before we move on, I assume to our listener story, I do have one more story for us this week. A very unusual story. Kind of connects to your first story about the fruit a bit. It's from iNews, which is a news site, from July 6th, 2020, by Leo Sendrawitz, I think. This is an extraordinary story, Rob, with extraordinary details. French engineer unveils bread made from wheat fertilised with women's urine.
Again, going back to the story that we featured at the beginning, where, well, it wasn't scientists, I still maintain it was a recruitment consultancy, but where people have been doing things that are really unnecessary.
People are bored under lockdown, Rob. So, a French engineer has unveiled a bread made from wheat fertilised with women's urine, collected, Rob, from public toilets.
Again,
this person's just got a pee fetish, haven't they, Rob? I mean, let's be honest.
Was this done legitimately, or was he just,
Well, what do you mean legitimately? There's no way. It's just done off his own back. What I love about it is, if you're collecting piss from women's toilets, that means there's going to be a fair few that are flushed. So you're waiting for the ones where they're not flushed and then scooping it out. Is that what you're doing? Is that really what you're doing? What the fuck are
My concern is he's placing some receptacle in the toilet bowl and they're just going collecting it after each use, but then...
Yeah, excuse me, as they come out, excuse me, just collecting some fertiliser for my bread.
I'm just collecting your piss, yeah.
But actually, Rob, going against stereotype, the person collecting this urine is a woman, not a man.
Oh, okay, fair enough.
Louise Raguet, I think, says her bread, called...
piss bread.
Bourse d'Or, or Goldilocks, aims to break taboos over excrement by creating a food system that recycles waste. She also asserts that using... Yeah, you're right, Rob.
Yeah, I'm struggling, Alex.
Remember, Rob, this is the alternate timeline I've told you, remember?
Yeah, no, okay, that does make sense. But I'm struggling to understand why she's making bread with piss.
To break taboos over excrement, Rob. I've got a t-shirt with that slogan written on it. I believe in this. Listen. She asserts that using human urine, which is used to create fertiliser spread on crops as they grow in the fields, could be a valuable process for cutting costs and boosting yields. The urine is collected from female urinals set up in the 14th arrondissement of Paris, near the Cour des Grands Voisins. I'm not saying any of this right. In Montparnasse.
Montparnasse, yeah.
Yeah, right. Urine is a great fertiliser, she told a conference on urban architecture. What's this got to do with fuck? So she comes to a conference, but she's an engineer, a conference on urban architecture, talking about her piss bread.
I like the idea that she has. I mean, she's not been invited to this, but she turns up to this, this conference of really esteemed architects, and she comes up with a loaf of bread she claims has been made out of piss.
Well, she says, Rob, that urine is a neglected liquid, right? Usually dismissed, she said, as a waste product, but it's packed with nutrients and should be treated like a gold mine. It's ideal to replace chemical fertilisers and avoid the pollution they cause. So now, Rob, we're getting into something quite serious. Now we're talking about saving the world, Rob. She explained that while plants normally take nitrogen, phosphorus and potassium from the soil, these nutrients also pass through the human body and emerge at the other end. People do not really know what's going on behind the toilet. Everything must disappear as if by magic. Everything is hidden, she said. When you pee in water, treatment plants remove the nutrients. They do not return to the earth. The system is not circular. She's dubbed her toilet the pipi ingrat or pee fertilizer. The challenge for our society is to collect urine as soon as it leaves our body, she said, adding that urine is safe, unlike faeces, which contains a lot of bacteria. So with my dinner tonight, Rob, I will be swigging down a glass or two. The choice to use female urine is part of what she calls, Rob, ecofeminism, which is to design environment-friendly products that empower women. Her design to collect the urine, nicknamed Marcel, is a female urinal that also aims to reduce toilet queues for women. I don't know what that's about. The last stage is to spread the urine, which is diluted 20 times before being applied. Large volumes can be stored for 3 months in a closed tank. The high alkaline content and the ammonia destroy unwanted molecules like drug residues or germs. Human urine, Rob, is a rich source of nitrogen, phosphorus, potassium and other trace elements that plants can use to grow, and is also sterile when expelled from the body. We learnt something here, Rob.
Yeah, to never eat bread again.
Okay, Rob. Oh, hang on a minute. Almost forgot. But luckily I keep it right by my side nowadays, Rob. It's really very near to me. Just unsheathing my purple rod. It is time, Rob, for our... I'm really going to try this week. Hang on. Without any practice. Here we go. Our listener story of the week. Just putting it back in its sheath there, Rob. There we are.
That noise just reverberates through my brain.
Well, it's time for our listener story of the week. And you said, Rob, it is from Ben.
It is indeed. Now, we have featured this paper before.
Gentle Ben. Or Ben the Rat, which, of course, was what the Michael Jackson song Ben was all about. I used to listen to that as a child. Never realised it was about a pet rat.
No, I didn't.
Ben is about a rat.
Did he used to have a pet rat?
Yes.
Okay, that's random. Anyway, yeah, so this is from the paper, which I still love because it sounds like I don't know why, but we featured it before. It's just called Chad. And I just don't know why it's called Chad. We have featured it.
Where's it based?
It's kind of, it's basically it's Nottinghamshire. It's Mansfield Way.
Oh, okay. It's a local newspaper, isn't it? And we don't know why it's
a local newspaper.
Is Chad some sort of term over there?
I have no idea. Actually, Ben, let us know. What's the relevant of Chad?
As well as confirming that you are or were a plumber, can you let us also know about what Chad means?
Because it also has the tagline, news you can trust since 1952. So apparently it's quite an old paper.
Maybe it's a misprint. Maybe they can't spell correctly. Maybe it's meant to be chap. Although that makes no sense either.
Let's make it no. That's equally as bizarre. Anyway, so the story is from the 7th of June. It's by Jessica Dawlinson. Dawlinson. Yeah. And the headline: Hungry burglar jailed after making himself a fish supper in Nottingham student accommodation.
We've had these stories, haven't we, Rob, over the years? We've had stories about people going to bed, making themselves dinner. I love it. Who in their right mind burgles at home? I would be wanting to get in and out as soon as possible. I've never committed to burglary. I do just want to say that now.
I mean, it's only a short story as well, but it's just brilliant. So, Paul Johnson, age 50, was caught on CCTV entering a property in Queen's Road before opening parcels he found in the building's reception area.
Right. So he rifled through their letters, right? But I guess you would. Parcels, something, something you could find something juicy. Not that fruit, hopefully.
No. Johnson searched cupboards before forcing an office door open, searching filing cabinets inside before opening a tin of cod roe and taking some red cabbage and making it and mixing it in a bowl.
Sorry, did he not know? Did he know for certain that people weren't going to be back? I don't understand. What the fuck is he doing? If I'm committing a burglary, Rob, I eat beforehand, don't you? There's a phrase in the trade: always burgle on a full stomach.
Absolutely. And if anything happens, at least you've got some padding, to soften the blow of any instruments, weapons and so on.
That's right, Rob. Yeah.
It doesn't say. I'm assuming. What I can't work out is, did he find the tin of cod roe in the filing cabinet?
That's where I keep my fish, Rob. Most people keep their fish in filing cabinets, Rob. Do you not?
Do they?
No, hang on a minute. I'm not even joking. If you've got a filing cabinet, my parents do it. It's because it's to do with the metal. It acts as a preservative.
Right. Okay, and the red cabbage?
Well, that's just weird, putting that in the filing cabinet. That's not the done thing round my way.
I mean, obviously, this man is actually quite a creative cook, because I would never think of combining a tin of cod roe with some red cabbage.
It sounds disgusting. I mean, I eat tinned tuna, but I'm not sure about tinned cod roe. I don't know.
No. Johnson of Forster Street in Nottingham left the bowl in a chair in the reception before leaving the premises during the early hours of April 9th. I don't know why I like that detail. Because he's eaten and decided that he doesn't want to steal the bowl. He's obviously conducted breaking and entering, but
who steals a bowl?
Alex, who cooks himself a tin of cod roe and red cabbage? Nottinghamshire police saying that no property was taken from within the building. When police examined the scene, the forensics took a fingerprint from the bowl that was a match for Johnson. Johnson was jailed for 6 months when he appeared at Nottingham Crown Court for sentencing on Tuesday, June the 2nd, after pleading guilty to a charge of burglary. And then we have the obligatory quote from the police. Although I think it's a bit heavy-handed, and the fact that he's now behind bars offers some reassurance to the victims and our communities that Nottingham Police is committed to tackling and reducing burglaries and taking criminals like Johnson off the streets. He didn't steal anything; he just made himself a meal.
Sorry, just to clarify that, Rob, I'm sorry I missed that very important detail. He didn't steal anything.
No, Nottinghamshire Police said no property was taken from within the building.
So why did he? So what? He broke in to help himself to some fish and cabbage.
He broke in, opened some letters, and made himself a meal, and then left.
And he's been in prison. And he's in prison
for 6 months.
Yeah, heavy-handed is the word. What I'll also say is criminal, Rob, is the lack of detail in this story, because we need more. I mean, what a great story, Ben. I love stories like that. That's just a local anaesthetic staple, that, isn't it, Rob?
It is.
Well, look, Rob, before we get on to the story, the headlines which never made it, I've got a bumper crop this week. We look forward, Rob, with a mixture of eager anticipation yet trepidation to our next episode, which will be episode 319, Rob, as we move ever more forward, as we move ever more forward, Rob, like a man trapped on his bird sanctuary with 200 parrots, landlocked in with no escape, finally managed to... Rob, I reckon, having to sacrifice 100 of those parrots, Rob, and pluck out all their feathers individually just to make himself a human parrot costume and attempt to fly to safety, because he could use the feathers, couldn't he, Rob, to make his own sort of wings. Just like that, we move...
Yes, if he was mentally ill.
We move ever more forward to our next episode, which will be episode 319. We can be found on our website, lapodcast.net. From there you can download all of our previous episodes for free if you like downloading manually. If you're a manual downloader, if you like that kind of thing, please do it. But if you're of the kind of more normal variety, you can go on one of many podcast apps available to Apple devices or Android devices. And if you do, it really helps us if you do... Obviously, hitting subscribe helps us, but those reviews, I know I keep asking for them, and I did check, and I did say I was getting angry about it, because it won't take you 2 seconds to leave a review, especially like on the Apple podcast app, because it really does drive us up in the listings, doesn't it, Rob? It makes us more visible.
It does.
It's a virtuous circle that we will all be involved in, and you will be doing a virtuous thing for us. So do it. Do it now. We can be found on Facebook, facebook.com/LA Podcast. We're on Twitter at LA Podcast, and we are on Spotify too if you like getting your podcast content that way. Right, Rob? Oh, and if you want to submit us a story like Ben did, Brilliant story. Send it to lapodcast.net@gmail.com. That's lapodcast.net@gmail.com. Right, Rob, the headlines, which never made it. I have to say, it's great that we do this nowadays. It gives me something really to look forward to at the end of the podcast, Rob, rather than it just sort of petering out into sort of desperation and despair.
Absolutely.
Rob, I've got 7. Yes, Rob, record.
I've got 4.
Okay, I'll start off with a few then. From CNN, Rob, people are defecating outside the Queen's vacation home. Never nice one.
Good to know.
From Vice magazine, invading cicadas may turn into sex-crazed zombies this summer. So something else to look forward to, Rob, post the coronavirus.
Good.
And one more from CNN. A bear in Italy, Rob, has been sentenced to death after attacking hikers. Activists want a stay of execution. Can I just say about that, Rob? Thinking back to our friend the criminal who broke in and ate the food and left after opening a few letters, I do wonder if people like him were very affected by the story of Goldilocks as a child. Because Goldilocks does seem to glamorise the whole idea of trespassing, breaking and entering. Because really, had it been a fair story and an accurate story, rather than depicting a rather romanticised view of the animal kingdom, those bears would have come back, Rob, and torn her to shreds.
Yeah, absolutely, Alex.
Limb from limb.
I think, that story feels like it's been dumbed down. It really does. So, my first headline: firefighters rescue fox with legs stuck in picnic table.
What? That's
I don't know why. I like the combination.
Is that from the UK? I feel.
No, I don't think it was. I think it was.
Oh, I don't believe you. That could only be from the UK. We're such animal lovers. We'd send out firefighters to rescue a fox. No one else would do that.
Yeah, maybe.
From Vice magazine, Rob, I love this story. Protesters with plastic pitchforks just showed up to billionaires' mansions in the Hamptons. So they just turned up outside these billionaires' mansions with pitchforks and protested.
Brilliant. Wonderful. Man fights off deadly snake while driving on highway.
Oh my God, I've got that as a story to actually read out. I was going to read out. Did you not want to read it? I just thought the story was extraordinary. So can you imagine, Rob, driving down a freeway and you've realised there's this deadly snake and he's wrestling with the snake while going like 80 miles an hour. This man's a hero.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Arguing couple throw buckets of faeces and urine over each other.
Again, we've all done it. This is a bit of a long one. Ex-soccer player once claimed he was late to practice in Chile because he was abducted by aliens, former teammate says.
John Mooner's former life there, Rob. Maybe he met John Mooner while he was on board the spaceship.
Quite possibly.
That's some excuse, though. Nebraska farmer finds ATM in pond. It's at the bottom of his pond.
ATM?
Yeah, whole ATM machine, Rob. Cash machine, just at the bottom of his pond. Been stolen, apparently.
Obviously, I would assume so. Woman 90 caught smearing poo on children's swings in bizarre protest.
Whoa, sorry. Did you say woman's 90?
Sorry, woman 90, as a woman.
A 90-year-old woman smeared shit over children's swings as a protest. Rob, you've got to tell us and the listeners more.
So it was basically... so there's a woman in Russia who apparently has been doing this for a number of years, and it was it's in regards to she had an issue with the basically it was a playground that was built quite near to her property, and she really objected to this because the children used to make a lot of noise, and so she routinely go and smear the swings with what looked like fecal matter. People just said it was just a brown liquid, in the hope that they would be removed by the local council.
Excuse me a minute, Rob. Maybe she was a fan of President Putin. Oh, I'm here all week. Very good, I thought.
Why did you use the recorder?
Just to set me up, Rob.
Right. Okay.
Is this the last headline from me now, Rob, or have you got another one?
It is. No, that's the last one from you.
Okay, last one. Bristol pub named after Edward Colston, renamed Ye Olde Pubby McDrunkface.
Oh, God, that's why I love Bristol.
Yeah, the Bristolian sense of humour. Right, Rob, that's it, isn't it?
It is.
We're going to be back in a week's time with Daft Talk episode 11. And after that, a week after that, we'll be back with another episode of LA Podcast, episode 319. Thank you so much for listening, everybody. We've really enjoyed your company. And we really enjoy doing this for you every week. So we're going to be back very soon. God bless.
And keep it local.